In this video, I'm going to be talking about the right elbow to the right hip in the golf downswing and how it can transform your golf swing. Hey, it's Troy from Hitting It Solid here. Thanks for joining me. So I'm talking about this right elbow to the right hip and why this is such a power move that can make a huge difference in your golf swing. So very quickly, before we dive in, I had a few questions about the new irons I'm using. These are the ballistic irons. These are absolutely amazing. You've got to check these out. More details down in the description. All right, so the right elbow to the right hip. Why is this such a key move? Well, when you do this correctly, has a lot of powerful benefits to your golf swing. So the first thing it will do, helps get that club on a better plane. So if I'm set up here, this club is on a plane. This right elbow really controls that plane, particularly as we go to the top here. On this downswing, this right elbow, if you can get it tucked in close to this right hip, it really controls that plane, allows you to come in more shallow, allows you to hit the inside of the golf ball, hit more draws, make more consistent contact. It's a powerful move. Now, if you look at most pros, and I'm going to show some during this video, they've always got that elbow, whether it's an iron or a driver, no matter what they're using, whenever they get down to about here, roughly about club parallel to the ground in the downswing, they always see this elbow as tucked really close to that top of that right hip. It's always right about there. And that's why. It's because they want to shallow the club, keep the club on a plane. If I do the opposite, which is what most amateurs do, and I go like this, look what happens to that club. This is exaggerated, obviously, but look how steep it comes down and it cuts across the golf ball. Now, if you're having trouble doing this, I'm going to explain that in just a moment, because this is the key. If you can't do this, you've tried everything, could be something else that's happening in your golf swing, and I'll touch on that in just a moment. But by getting that elbow tucked in, look at that shaft just naturally shallow. And this is the amateur elbow going out. The club just follows where the elbow goes. Club naturally wants to come out there like that. The arm will straighten. You'll end up casting the club. So from this angle, you'll end up straightening the club like that, and you'll end up flipping, scooping, doing all sorts of those bad shots that we don't want. So the feel I want you to have, almost feel like it's touching on the downswing. It will feel uncomfortable at first. That's completely natural if you've never done it. But as you get to the top here, feel it really just jams into your ribs almost. You should feel a squeeze around here. That's a good feel. Feel a squeeze in the ribs there. And that club gets in a fantastic spot that you can deliver right through to impact. Now, if you've had trouble doing this right elbow to right hip move, it could be for a couple of different reasons. One, you might have some sort of injury or some reason why this elbow doesn't want to bend quite like it should in this downswing. Look, I don't know what that is, but there might be some reason why you feel comfortable straightening it more. Could be a physical thing, and like I say, something you've injured playing sport or something else. But that could be one reason, something really important to consider. But most likely, the reason you're not doing it is something that's happening earlier in the backswing. So, if I'm setting up here, and this is something you might have noticed when you looked at your golf swing on video, as you swing to the top, if for whatever reason, if I draw a line right on my butt line here, as you make your backswing, if you stand up too tall and you come away from that line, for example, it's highly likely in the downswing you're going to struggle to get that elbow bent. And the reason being is you're likely to stand tall again on the downswing. You'll be further away from the ball. The only way of hitting it is to straighten those arms. If I was to get up like this higher, getting my elbow into my ribs is not going to help me at all, because I'm just going to miss that ball completely. Now, you might make a perfectly good backswing. Maybe you don't come away from that line, but as you start your downswing or your transition, this right foot goes up early and you push your hips forward, you narrow that space to the golf ball. Again, getting your elbow there is not going to do you any good because you'll be further from the ball. Most likely what will happen, and this is what commonly happens, you stand up taller to give yourself room, and again, arms will have to extend to hit the golf ball. Ideally, what you want to feel like, apart from feeling it close to your ribs, you want to feel like that trail arm, right for right-hander, stays bent for as long as possible. So if I come to here, I want to feel like it stays bent all the way to impact. Now, really good players, their trail arm is actually bent at impact, not by a lot, but it's always a little bit bent. You'll see them at impact, they're like this. As they get into the longer clubs, it's a little bit straighter, but it will be bent. You won't see it like this. Okay, so your feel is to feel like you can keep it bent for as long as possible, Usually just after good players strike the ball, it straightens about there and then through to the finish. So I want you to reverse back and have a look at your backswing and look at your transition, and really make sure as you start your downswing that you're getting your pelvis and your hips back, giving yourself more room here to get the elbow tucked in into that inside spot. This way you can shallow it, get the club in the slot, as they say, and through to a nice impact. Now, there's two other areas to this that are great checkpoints for you to get right, to make sure you're on the right path to this. And they are the trail wrist. So I might just spin around this way. You should have some trail wrist bend like this, because if you don't, see that trail wrist bend there? That keeps the club a little bit behind your hands, helps you create lag, and really snap the club through for maximum power. You don't want to be this sort of position here. It's unlikely you'll be in this position with that elbow tucked. It'll almost always be like this, but that's the feel. You can see that trail wrist bent back like that. And the other thing you should feel is this forearm, your trail arm, your right arm for right-hander, pointing more towards the sky. As I come down, you can see here, trail forearm towards the sky. Someone that comes down steep, invariably, like this, see this forearm is pointing down there somewhere. Club comes down very steep. This is the steep forearm towards the ground. I know that's exaggerated, but if you can feel the opposite to that, feel that forearm pointing up, trail wrist bent like this, forearm up towards the sky, trail wrist bent. You're going to start to hit some really solid golf shots, irons, drivers, hybrids, whatever. You're going to be striking them much more consistently. And how I want you to practice this, you can do this as a pre-shot routine if you like, just getting ready to hit your shot, just practice doing this. Getting it tucked, getting that trail wrist bent, really tucked into your ribs. You don't even need a club. This is the feel. Getting those hips and pelvis back, getting that elbow jammed into that sort of that right hip area there. It is a fantastic, consistent move. I've been practicing this a lot lately. It's been making an amazing difference in my game. I'll know it'll work for yours as well. Any handicap, any skill level, this is a real game-changing move. So you're going to practice like this, just to here. And that'll make a massive difference in your golf game. All right, let's hit a shot here, and I'm going to be hitting a shot here just with a 9-iron, I think it is, and my only feel is going to be tucking that right elbow to the right hip of the downswing. And you'll find an instant improvement in your ball striking if you practice this, particularly if you're someone that's so used to coming down steep. Give it a try. All right, let's go. All right, pretty good strike. That's what I want you to work on. Right elbow to right hip in the downswing. You're going to start playing some fantastic golf. Now, to help you out with what we've talked about today, this next video is a must because it kind of goes hand in hand with it, and that is going to be talking about getting hip depth in the backswing. So it's going to be talking about getting more depth here so that you can get that right elbow in the right spot in that downswing. So make sure you watch that video. It's coming up.